When people think of the 1911, they think of history, of blued steel, of walnut grips, of world wars, and of the pistol that defined American sidearms for more than a century. But here's the question most people don't ask. What does a classic Colt 1911 look like when Colt builds it today? On purpose. Not a duty gun, definitely not a race gun, not a tactical, railed, optic-ready pistol, but a pistol meant to feel like a Colt. Today we're talking about the Colt 1911 Special Edition A1, a limited edition, current production government model that sits right at the intersection of heritage, collectability, and shootability, and why I changed so much about it. Before we talk about what I did to it, let's talk about the gun from the factory. To understand this special edition model, you need to understand Colt's modern problem. You see, Colt is the original 1911 manufacturer, but for decades, they've been competing in the market they created against companies that are now specializing in tighter tolerances, modern manufacturing, and competition and duty-focused builds. Colt knows that it cannot, and maybe should not, try to outrace custom shops and tactical brands, although would it kill you to come out with an optic cut? Instead, Colt does something that no one else can do quite so convincingly. They sell authenticity. This special edition model is designed to be a throwback. It's that classic government length, beautifully blued steel, clean lines, and most importantly, it's a Series 70. But don't be fooled, this is not a clone. This is not nostalgia cosplay. This is Colt telling its fans and the broader market, we're still here, and this is what a Colt feels like. And they aren't lying. This is what a Colt feels like. Let's break down that designation, because Colt names confused a lot of people. I did some research online, which probably isn't great compared to books. I just didn't have a book that covered this. So let me know if I'm wrong about any of this. The model designation O1911SE-A1. O is Colt's internal model prefix. 1911, it is a full-size government 1911. SE, special edition. A1, visual and ergonomic cues inspired by the 1911 A1. But if you're about to go get one of these, know that it is not a true A1 clone. Instead, it borrows the original spirit of the A1, with also including features that shooters actually want today. And that puts it in a sweet spot. It's more refined than a GI Repro, but keeps that tradition that you don't see in other of the more modern production Colts. It is a .45 caliber, 5-inch barrel government length Colt, and the first thing you notice about it is that deep blued finish. It's gorgeous. It's not a matte duty blue, it is that classic Colt polish, with the polished flats and the matte curves. That deep bluing, honestly, reflects light at every angle. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm telling you, if the camera's not doing it justice, it is absolutely gorgeous. This pistol has been, and is going to, age like a fine wine. Already, holster wear and just running this gun has added so much character. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you I haven't thought of finishing this in DLC, but we'll talk more about that later. Like I said, it does have the Series 70 internals, which means no firing pin safety, fewer moving parts, which leads to a cleaner and better, in my opinion, trigger pull. This might matter to you if you're a collector who wants that original mechanical simplicity that you don't really see in Colt production today. As a shooter, because like I said, in my opinion, it's a better trigger, and those Colt purists or 1911 purists who want what's closer to an original design than you're really seeing today. Is the Series 70 unsafe? No. It's the same system used by countless 1911s, and millions of rounds have proven its reliability and safety. 2 world wars! The only way to make it go off is to drop it directly on the nose. Don't do that. This kind of talk is what you see in those online forums with those old FUDs who still do things the old ways, where like, put your chamber flag in and step away from your gun, step behind the line when you're trying to shoot at the range. You're just trying to run drills. Don't fire faster than a round a second. Like, you people are out of date. People are training tactically. Move on. Going on a tangent. Moving on. With this model, Colt made one very smart compromise. A subtle, modern concession. Instead of GI sights, the O1911SE-A1, or limited edition, has a Novak-style rear and a brass bead front sight. They're still low profile, still classic in appearance, but actually usable. Not that they didn't work for decades, but I mean, come on. And this tells you everything about the pistol's philosophy. Respect the past, but don't punish the shooter. Let's address the limited edition elephant in the room real quick. Is this actually limited, besides saying limited edition right there? Yes, but not in the way that a 200 gun, custom run, limited run would be. This gun's number 1200. I actually emailed the Colt archives today to ask if they knew the exact time this gun was manufactured, and they said because the gun is still in production, even though I bought this I think like 2 years ago, maybe less, the gun is still in production, so they don't really have an archive of when these were made yet. Although they're probably like $100 to $200 more expensive than they were 2 years ago. But anyway, this is a defined production run, but it's not part of Colt's permanent catalog. These details put this into a unique category. It's more exclusive than a regular production Colt if you're into that collectability, but it's far more shootable than an actual commemorative model. Like I have this. It is a commemorative pistol produced in 1970. It's nickel plated, and it's the World War II commemorative European Theater of Operations. Pretty nice. Stay tuned for a video on that. This gun is what people on the internet call a shooter collector, or collector shooter, one of those things. Now, let's get to the tabletop and compare how this compares to its classic legacy 1911s, and then I'll run you through everything I've done to modify this gun. Since this is the special edition A1, let's compare it to the original 1911A1 first. This is a Remington Rand 1911 produced in 1943. So what does the special edition carry over? If we start at the muzzle, you see your standard GI barrel bushing. The slide lightning cut is very GI, no ball cuts here. And the slide serrations have 19 cuts, just like the originals. The thumb safety is very GI original, as you can see here. It also retains the checkering. And it also came with a short trigger, much like the A1, which I have since replaced, except this is machined instead of stamped like this Remington Rand. Here is a medium trigger for reference, as well as, I think this is a medium flat face trigger for your reference. Very tiny. The frame is scalloped, just like the A1. You can see that the original has no scalloping here. It also retains the checkered magazine release from the original models. Internally, none of these have firing pin safeties, making them, quote, Series 70, although they all have solid barrel bushings and not collet bushings. Now let's look at the original 1911. What carries over from this? This is a Colt produced in 1918. Most of this gun's features were carried over to the A1 after 1924, so I won't mention what we already discussed. The first thing that jumps out is the roll mark. I mean, look at that baby. They used the roll marks from the originals. Unbelievably beautiful and possibly worth owning just for that, honestly. Wow. Next is the slide stop. Rather than having the serrations of this A1, it has the checkering from the original model. Sorry, as I said that out loud, I thought to myself, I think that's a difference between Colt and Remington Rand. So I went and checked in the Vickers Guide and verified that the Colt A1s also had checkering and not serrations on the slide stop. This limited edition also came with this flat mainspring housing like the original and not the bulged one from the A1, although serrated instead of smooth. And this is probably because most shooters prefer the flat mainspring housing these days. Not all, but I think most do. And I think that's about all I'm seeing, so let me know if you think I missed anything. Now, what has changed from the originals? Well, if we start at the muzzle again, you can see that the GI sight is gone and replaced with a brass bead front sight. This is honestly awesome. Typically, gold bead front sights are a common upgrade for 1911 enthusiasts, And the brass, I guess, is maybe a little more affordable. I don't know why they went with brass and not gold, but it does a great job at catching light. If we look at this Springfield Garrison, which is definitely no longer a Garrison with everything I've done to it, I put a gold bead on it, so you can kind of see the difference there. The gold bead I have is domed, and the brass bead is flat, so they're a little different. But you can see it does catch the light pretty well. Then moving to the rear sight, it actually came with this low profile Novak sight. This is a solid move over the GI sights. One point is that these are definitely better for aiming than the GI sights, but a second point is it allows the user to replace them with sights of their choice, like you can see I did. It does not have the original or the A1 style hammer. Colt opted for this ring hammer instead, which honestly is a solid choice. I love this hammer, and depending on what else they might have put on, I probably would have put a ring hammer on anyways. It also does not retain either legacy grip safety. This being shorter, this being a little longer. Colt opted for this upswept beaver tail and the memory bump. The memory bump isn't really a memory bump to me, but it makes sure that the safety is fully pressed even with a bad grip. I'll get into the origins of this in the future when we make the video on custom 1911s and gunsmiths that happened over the years. So subscribe and stay tuned. Next, the originals did not have front LPI checkering. This limited edition Colt, I got skin in there, decided to add 25 line per inch front strap checkering, which is game changing and absolutely phenomenal. Not many 1911s come with this at this price point even today. And above that, the trigger guard cut for a better, higher grip. Again, huge value, and I'm so happy that they did it. Like I said, the mainspring housing comes with these serrations on the back, which is flat like an original model Colt, but instead of being smooth, it is serrated. It's pretty cool, but it would have made more sense to me to have checkering at 25 LPI, just like the front strap. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Also, there's no lanyard loop on the bottom of the mainspring housing like both of the originals have. And lastly, Colt opted to put these rosewood grips on it rather than the original walnut or plastic from the A1s. Let's flip these over and give you another view of these old war horses. So why did I buy this gun? Well, it's wicked affordable for what you get, so it's very high value in my opinion. Second, it's a Series 70s, which is really cool considering Colt's product line is all Series 80 right now, if you go look at their website. And then the front strap checkering, as well as the trigger guard cut, were huge selling points for me. Now, having talked all about this pistol, what did I feel needed to change on this darling limited edition pistol? Well, let's talk about materials really quick. Colt uses forged steel parts, machined bar stock parts, investment cast parts, and metal injection molded parts. The forged steel parts are the slide, the barrel, and the frame. These are solid bones and I kept all of it. The parts that are machined from bar stock are the barrel bushing, the slide stop, the extractor, ejector, firing pin, hammer, recoil plug, barrel link, plunger tube, grip screw bushings, sights, and all of the pins throughout. Most of these parts, including the slide stop, which is a copy of the original, are really nice. So I basically kept most of these machined parts. I love the ring hammer, so that was a definite keep. And like I said, Colt decided to ditch the GI sights for the low profile Novak sights. And I personally just don't really prefer the look of a wedge on top of my gun there. I prefer to have a ledge of some sort. Like even on this, they like cut a ledge into the wedge. So I replaced it with the Stan Chen rear sight to match the Stan Chen Magwell mainspring housing. Speaking of, let's move on to investment cast parts. From what I could find online, the investment cast parts in the Colts are the original thumb safety, the grip safety, and this mainspring housing. Honestly, this mainspring housing and thumb safety look machined to me. I can't find any clear signs of casting on them. I'm no expert though. I changed these two parts out not because they're cast, supposedly, but because I wanted an extended thumb safety and a magwell, as well as checkering versus serrations that would match the front. Now, the grip safety is definitely cast. You can even see a mold line right there. I did make modifications to the grip safety for science. Instead of pinning the grip safety in the depressed position, because male depression is a modern day public health crisis, I very slowly, file pass by file pass, removed material so that I don't need to depress the grip safety at all. So a normal person would depress their grip safety and pull the trigger. What I did, you can just pull the trigger. I have a few thousand rounds through this. It's like my favorite 1911 to shoot. And it's been perfectly fine and reliable, honestly. However, I am not a professional or certified gunsmith, so do not do this. And if you are one of those things, let me know what might be wrong with this. Next up is stamped steel. So the firing pin stop, the leaf springs or sear springs, and the trigger bow are all stamped. I did not replace the pin stop. I don't think I replaced the sear spring, maybe when I was tuning the gun, but I don't remember. And I put a Wilson Combat trigger in that came with its own trigger bow, so that's how I have that. But we have a really good trigger pull. 3 pounds, 6 ounces. It's not a competition trigger, but it's really good for what this gun is for, and the originals have much heavier triggers, honestly. This was one of the first guns I learned to do trigger jobs on. I'll probably have to go back in and refine it a little more. Next up is metal injection molded, or MIM. The MIMmed parts in a Colt included the magazine catch assembly, as well as the sear and disconnector, which you can see the markings from being MIMmed on there. Colt actually has a lot less MIM parts than other manufacturers like Springfield, Kimber, etc. I know there are raging debates about the use of MIM in 1911s all over the industry and the internet, and I'm not going to get into that right now, maybe in another video, but I did choose to replace all the MIM parts on this gun. Partly for just not liking MIM, because I'm one of those people, and partly I just like to upgrade and change my guns, honestly. I didn't like that the sear and disconnector were MIM, so those had to go. And since I was doing that, I went ahead and just did the mag catch assembly as well. I guess the last material used by Colt on their 1911s is wood. I am a big fan of walnut, so these pink rosewood grips had to go. And since I went with a stanchion magwell, I got these stocks cut for magwell, as well as checkered texture all the way through, no diamonds, like this. I could have done regular cut grips. Let's grab the Vickers guide again real quick. These Delta 1911s have regular cut stocks like the original guns with a magwell, and they look absolutely badass. More on this page. I had these custom made for me, and I really love the clean cut look, although I could really change them whenever I want. I mean, I think I got them from Harrods or I don't know, I forget. Could have been wood caliber, maybe Hogue, probably not. You can see I vibe with Alchemy custom weaponry. I really dig the set screws all being in line and clean. But with all these parts being changed out, what would I like to do that I haven't already done? I was considering getting the slide cut for an optic, but I stopped myself. I have other guns to do that too, and this should stay like this. Am I foreshadowing to a Colt combat unit done up by Nighthawk? Stay tuned. subscribe. I might replace the grip safety as it's the last cast part. If I do, that would lead me to finishing the gun and probably DLC, since I'll have to file the finish away to make the grip fit nice anyways. But it is tough to get rid of this bluing. Although I do have another nice blued 1911. Believe it or not, the garrisons are very well done. My bad for not cleaning it before putting it on camera. I do have a gripe with the barrel fitment on this. Like, I know the originals, they're so used, it's hard to tell what they were like new, but it does move a bit when you push on it, which is not great. And that messes with my TISM, especially being on my favorite gun. It could be cool to hand fit a barrel and bushing, and then have those DLC'd as well if I do the whole DLC coating. I feel like everything is leading me to DLCing this. I need to have some self-control. And if I do all that, I'd probably also have the slide to frame fit tightened up, because Colts are really loose, and it is nice to have a tight fit gun, like this Wilson Combat. It doesn't move at all. All right, back to the talking head. So who is this pistol really for? The O1911SE-A1 is not for competition shooters chasing that 1/10 of a second, unless you plan to modify the heck out of it like I have done and will probably keep doing. And it is not for tactical shooters wanting light rails and red dots. This pistol is for Colt enthusiasts, 1911 traditionalists who want a modern shooter, collectors who want something exclusive yet able to shoot at the range, and people who want to see, Colt traditionalism and lineage in a modern shooting gun. And who else this gun is for? Me. I think I need more time to adequately describe why, but something about this gun just makes me happy. It smells amazing. And I think the level of custom you get for the value, plus the roll marks and the feel of the gun being limited edition, I don't know, I just love it. I fondle it often, probably on par with how much I fondle my Staccato, which is my actual gun that I train with, despite owning more expensive custom guns like this Wilson Combat CQB. Video on this coming as well. Subscribe and stay tuned. Anyway, if you grew up thinking this is what a 1911 should look like, this pistol's probably for you. There's still a bunch on that website that brokers guns, so go check them out. Now let's look at this Colt as the work of art that it is. At first glance, the pistol is restrained, conservative. There is no aggressive texturing, no rails breaking the line of the dust cover, no optics plate interrupting the slide lines, and that restraint is the point. The 1911 is one of the purest examples of functional design, functional art, ever produced. Every line on this model exists because it has to. The straight slide rails, the gentle taper of the dust cover, the flat planes of the slide catching light at different angles, the exposed hammer and manual safeties, unapologetically mechanical. Nothing is hidden, nothing is softened for aesthetic alone. This is industrial honesty, the same philosophy behind early American machine tools, steam locomotives, aircraft. The O1911SE-A1 doesn't try to look modern. It looks correct. The deep blue is not paint. It is controlled oxidation. Steel altered, not covered. And that matters, because blued steel reflects light differently at every angle. It shows handling marks gradually, not suddenly. It records its own history over time. This pistol is not meant to remain pristine. It is meant to age gracefully. Holster wear becomes patina, edges soften, and high spots brighten. Like a well-used saber or a blued revolver from the 19th century, the pistol becomes more personal the longer it exists. This is not accidental. It's design philosophy. The wood introduces warmth, both visually and physically. It reminds the user that this is a human tool, not a disposable object. When your hand wraps around the grip, you feel steel where control matters, and wood where comfort matters. This balance mirrors classic American craftsmanship. Rifles with walnut stocks, sabers with leather and wire, Tools meant to be held, not just used. The pistol does not disappear in the hand, it communicates with it. The exposed hammer, the thumb safety sweeping upward, the slide cycling with visible mass. There is no mystery here. The pistol invites mechanical understanding. This is the same reason people admire mechanical watches, steam engines, and exposed truss bridges. Function is not hidden beyond polymer shells. It is displayed with confidence. This firearm is beautiful because it is mechanically legible. It is worth admiring because it reminds us of the legacy that led us to where we are today. The Colt O1911SE-A1 isn't as flashy as some of your modern models. It isn't revolutionary, and it doesn't try to be anything it's not. Instead, it does something harder. It reminds us why the 1911 mattered in the first place. Blued steel, clean lines, mechanical honesty. In a world of polymer frames and red dots, this pistol stands quietly and says, this is where it all started.